So you're using All About Reading and you're looking for ways to sort of freshen up, so to speak, your review, whether it's your flashcards, your phonogram cards, whether or not it's your word list that you are using, or maybe it's just an area you need to circle back to because your child is struggling a little bit more. Well, today I'm going to share with you guys 10 fun, creative, and exciting ways that you can infuse a little extra fun into your review and learning with All About Reading. So let's get started. The first idea is to create a word hunt. We love to do this with the flashcards from All About Reading. We will hide them around a space, maybe it's a room or even all throughout the house, and the child will go on a hunt to find the cards and then read the cards. You can even add an extra layer of fun to this by doing it in the dark and having them look with a flashlight to have to find each word card. If you're looking to incorporate a little bit of multi-sensory approach, consider a read and write it. When your kids read and write something, it gives them extra kinesthetic input and sometimes helps the words to store better in their brains. You can do this by having them write the words really big in chalk outside on the driveway, or write it on a sand tray or in a salt tray. You just put salt on a cookie sheet or in a container and have them write it out using shaving cream. Making the words with Play-Doh and then reading them can really be a fun way to mix things up and work on that reading and spelling at the same time. But what if your child gets overwhelmed by seeing a lot of words on one page? Well, you can actually cut apart the word list. I know a lot of families will do this. I have even photocopied it and then cut it apart so that I can keep it for future kids. And with this, you can then feed it to the monster. So All About Reading has a lot of free resources on their website. I will link to the Feed the Monster game down in the description below, but you can download this template of a picture of a monster and put it on the front of a cereal box or a bag, and you will have your child read the strip for you and then feed it to the monster. And it's just a fun way to kind of break it up, make things more manageable, and still have fun within a game. Speaking of games, there are so many ways that you can incorporate games into your review. And again, All About Reading has a lot of different fun reading games on their website completely free. I will link a few of my favorites down below, but of course, if you are one that you're like, I would love to do these review games, but I don't really want to prep more material, or I don't have access to a printer, and you want to be able to just have things ready to go, they do actually now offer multiple game books that you can purchase for like $20 that you can get that actually work for All About Reading and All About Spelling. They offer a variety of ways of reviewing the words that your child needs. They're not specific to a level, so you can pick which ones work best for you just based on maybe the theme of it, like they have a fish theme or birds or so on and so forth. And so you can pick the one that you like best and you're able to just write in the words that you're working on, and you can have these games already done and ready to go. Of course, if you're looking for something a little more DIY, you can incorporate reading review into pretty much any game that you want to play. Playing games like memory with your cards, where you lay out your flashcards, you have duplicates of them, you can have them flip it over and try to remember, or maybe if they're not looking for pairs because you only have one set of the word cards, you could have them find pairs of the same vowel team or of the same phoneme. These can be fun ways to kind of mix it up. You can incorporate it into pretty much any board game you play. Things like Candyland, or I don't know, just any kids game, Chutes and Ladders, Hi-Ho Cheerios. The idea though is instead of using the cards or the dice, you would use word cards. You could laminate these if you want. I used to do that years ago. I would laminate it, and in the corner, I would just write with a dry erase marker 1, 2, or 3. They would read the word, and then they could move that many spaces. Over the years, I stopped laminating the cards because they actually hold up really well. So with that, you could just write with a pencil in the corner, something you could easily erase in the future. And it's just a fun way to incorporate more reading into your gameplay that you might already be doing. Tip number 5 is to tag team with your child. This works as well with the readers. If you are looking to incorporate more practice or maybe have a reluctant reader, you can do things like they read a page, you read a page. They read a page, you read a page. We can also do this with our word list. So I like to put our word list within a sleeve protector and then take a dry erase marker. And I will say, all right, you read a word and then we'll cross it off. And then I'll read a word and we'll cross it off. Or maybe we'll mix and match. Instead of going in order, I'll say, today you're going to read 10 words. Let's pick the words. And so I'll let them pick it out and we'll cross them off. And then the next day, or maybe a little bit later in that day, we'll have them read 10 more words. And so they have to pick from ones that they haven't already crossed off. And make sure that you still get to all of the practice with the word sheets, but it lets you break it up into multiple sections. Number 6 is to create silly sentences. My son, who has ADHD, used to do this just for fun. And I realized that while it was kind of frustrating to me because I wanted to keep the lessons moving, it actually did help him. So he would read a word and then create a silly sentence around it. So it might be ball, and then he would say, the ball bounced off of the police officer's head. Whatever it might be, I don't know. And he would come up with these funny stories or these funny sentences. You could even have your child write some of this out if they enjoy writing. If they don't, I would probably nix that for now if we're trying to go for ultimate fun and review. Number 7 is to incorporate movement. With that same ADHD child, the more that I incorporated movement, the better we learned. So he would do things like read a card or read 4 or 5 cards and then do an obstacle course that we created in our home or outside. Maybe it's things like, all right, we're going to read the word and then we're going to do a jumping jack. Or we're going to play hopscotch, and in each of the squares is going to be one of your flashcards that you have to read before you can move on. Using props is another way that's fun to mix it up. If you go to Dollar Tree, a lot of times you can get one of those finger pointers, and my kids used to love those. They would lay out the cards on the floor or even hang them up on the wall and use those pointers to be able to point to the word that they were going to be reading. Maybe it's that you have a special reading hat that they put on when they're doing reading practice. Or for younger kids, they really enjoyed me using the Ziggy puppet that is called for in the pre-reading program. It doesn't have to be Ziggy though. You could get any puppet and have it be someone that goes along with you in your lessons and reads and practices. Again, you can do some of that tag teaming with the puppet and with the child to make it more fun and less overwhelming. And we would even sometimes incorporate for my boys Nerf guns into this process where I would hang up different word cards on the wall, and then they would take their Nerf guns and shoot the word that they wanted. Whichever word they hit, they had to read that word. So lots of fun ways to incorporate different props into reading practice. Setting a timer. This is a tool that could be helpful for some, and for others might cause maximum anxiety. So use your best judgment as the parent. But maybe having your child see how fast they can read through this word sheet, or how fast can they read through this particular section of the word sheet or this many flashcards. Having them time themselves and then try to beat themselves the next time. Again, for some kids, they're extra competitive and love this aspect, and for others, the idea of having a time attached to it might cause anxiety. So if that's the case, just skip this idea. Number 10 is to play a game called Roll and Read. With this, you are going to take dice. You can get them from the Dollar Tree, the big foam ones, or you can just use ones from your board games that you already have in your home, and you're going to write out with your child what each number means. It's more fun if you incorporate your child in this process and having them decide how are you going to have to read each word based on what number you roll. So for instance, if you roll number 1, you might have to read the word in a whisper. And if you roll number 3, you might have to read the word in a high squeaky voice. Or if you roll number 6, you might need to do jumping jacks. Maybe incorporate movement into this game as well. Or you might need to read it upside down or whatever it might be. Come up with it, and it can change time to time, but this is just a fun way to incorporate that creativity and potentially movement into the reading practice as well. The big thing with all of this is to find what works best for you and for your child. And ultimately, make sure that you don't make some of the biggest mistakes that people do oftentimes with All About Reading. If you don't know what those mistakes are, be sure to watch this video here where I share with you guys 10 of the mistakes that a lot of people make and that I have made personally after using All About Reading for over 10 years. I want to save you from this trouble, so be sure to check out this video here.